Thank you, Patrick. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's regular meeting of Walpole Select Board. It's June 7th, 7 o'clock, the time of our posted meeting, and I call the meeting to order. Let's stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we jump into the agenda, just a couple of quick things. We had an election over the weekend, and wanted to start by congratulating all the candidates who ran. Win or lose, it's a great thing for Walpole that we had a lot of contested races and that we had a lot of folks interested in the various boards and committees that were up for election, so well done. With respect to this board, the voters returned Ben Barrett, as you can see, to a second term. Welcome back, Ben.
Thanks, Jim.
And Allie Hamilton for her first term here with us. Welcome and congratulations, Allie.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
As we're required to do, we met last night as a new board and we reorganized, and so I was voted chair, Glenn Maffey was voted vice chair, and Allie was voted as the clerk. So that's where we'll operate as we go forward this next year. Okay, so let's dive into our appointments. First up, we have a vote request of the 99 Restaurant for a change of manager to Ryan Capilano. Is Ryan here? Ryan, could you just come up to the podium? And while you're doing that, if I understand, no public hearing required for this.
No public hearing.
And it looks like the paperwork is all in good order?
Yes, everything is all set.
Great, thank you. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey.
Just wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the board and to the town.
Yeah.
And maybe you can tell the people a little bit about yourself as you take over as the manager of the 99.
Of course. So I just recently took over as general managing partner at the Walpole 99. I've been with the 99 for 3 years. Before that, I ran Panera Breads from Las Vegas to New England. My wife did her postdoc at Brown in Rhode Island, so we live over there by Brown. And I just love the 99. A bunch of my managers left Panera, kept going to the 99. I'm like, what's the 99? So I sat down with some of the bosses, and biggest blessing that ever happened. It started about a year before COVID, and the way we handled the COVID situation, we never shut down. We shut down for 1 day, but we did to-go only, and just, I believe in them. They do the right thing. I mean, the Walpole 99's been around since 1978. Yeah, I love the company. I love Walpole. New England's home for me. We just have a 18-month-old, and we just found out my wife's 10 weeks pregnant. So
Oh, wow.
This is home. She's going to be a big sister, and yeah, we love it here.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Any questions from the board for Ryan?
No, I welcome you and appreciate your responsible stewardship of the
Yeah.
liquor license and the operation of the restaurant.
You guys have been so helpful. Everybody I've talked with here has been a big blessing helping me out. It was all new, a little nervous coming around trying to do things I've never done, but
Sure.
appreciate your guys' help.
Terrific. Well,
Sure.
thank you.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the request of 99 Restaurant for a change of manager to Ryan Capilano.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500. Thank you very much for being here and congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, our next order of business is interview and vote to appoint Marie Jean Lewis to the Norfolk County Advisory Board. Is Marie here? If you come up to the platform, please, the podium. So thank you for volunteering to do this. This is a really important job, and it's something that, I think we probably need to be paying more and more attention to. When we think about the cost of tuition at the agricultural school and what we saw in this last budget cycle, in total, small dollars, but a big percent. And then, of course, we've got the ongoing conversations around what's happening with the solar panels and all that. So a lot that's going on here, and this is a very, very important role. So really appreciate you stepping up and volunteering. Why don't you just spend a moment talking about yourself and why you want to be in the role, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. My name is Marie Jean Lewis. I've been living in Walpole for 8 years now, and I'm currently a senior manager of analytical development at a biotech pharmaceutical company. And the reason why I'm also part of the committee for the recreational committee as well too. And hopefully, everyone, not to change the subject, everyone supports the Walpole Day on Saturday, June 11. And the reason why I want to volunteer is majority of it, it's my civil right duty, and also I have also spare time as well too. And I know the criticality and the importance of the advisory board in terms of budgeting, capital planning.
Great, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Marie?
I just say thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
And I'll make a motion to appoint Marie Jean Lewis to the Norfolk County Advisory Board.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500. Thank you again, we really appreciate you stepping forth and doing this.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon, guys.
Good luck on Saturday. We're well ahead of schedule, and I want to wait for 7:25 for open forum, just in case anybody's coming in late. So I'm gonna take us into new business at this point. And we have our first order of business is a NSTAR and Verizon, as I understand it, request for two of them, grant of locations to move a couple of poles. Again, I'm understanding this is not requiring a public hearing, Aoife?
No, this doesn't, since the locations of the poles don't actually affect any new abutters, so no public hearing or notice is required.
Okay. And I also understand that the genesis of it is, it's really a request from our engineering and DPW departments. Is Carl here?
No, he's out. but,
He's out, okay.
Rick was gonna speak for him. Is Rick here, Scott?
He was.
Sound like out. Okay. Anybody here from Verizon?
Anybody here from NSTAR or Verizon?
No, I think Rick was going to.
Okay. All right, let's just wait a
Skip to
second.
the next one?
Yeah.
So the next order of business is our bid contract awards. We have one for the water main replacement.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we wait on that as well? I was gonna talk to Rick about that.
Certainly. Okay,
You can go to the,
Yeah.
just the June Street one.
sounds like he's here.
Okay.
Thanks, Glenn.
Sure.
We're all waiting for you, Rick.
Not a problem, Rick. Thanks for being here. So we've moved ahead into the new business to talk about the pole locations, the grant of locations. So if you could just give us a rundown on those two.
Yes, the request is for two grants of location for the relocation of two poles. This would be associated with the new construction of a new sidewalk that is roughly from Forest Street to 1A. It's all part of the Renmar age-qualified village, and it's completely funded by the developer, so it's a win-win for the town.
Awesome. And looks like all the paperwork's in order, and we're good to.
I believe that it is, yes, and these requests were made by the town, not Eversource.
Okay.
I'll make a
Glenn.
motion, I'll make a motion to approve the request of NSTAR Electric Company for grant of location to relocate one existing pole, number 74/60, within the town layout of West Street.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
I'll make a motion to approve the request of NSTAR Electric Company for grant of location to relocate one existing pole, number 126/23, within the town layout of Norfolk Street.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 500. Thanks, Rick. Can you just hang in there? I think we're gonna have questions for you on one of these bid awards.
Thank you.
So let's move ahead to the water main replacement and June Street drainage. So Jim, do you wanna hit that, and then we'll?
Sure, so this is I'm expecting Glenn may have some questions as far as the June
Just a
Street
quick one,
drainage is in regards to there. We bid this out as one bid, one contractor was recommended here, which is a local contractor, which is always great, PJ Hayes. Recommending favorable action on, to award contract 22-12 to PJ Hayes, Inc. The June Street drainage, I note that, that project was funded using ARPA funds. You may recall back, I think it was in the fall or winter at some point, this board directed me to move forward with an authorization, which we'll talk about later on tonight, but one of them was for $280,000 for June Street, so that portion of the project is being paid with the ARPA funds. and the remaining balance are being paid with the funds that were appropriated through town meeting, so.
Yeah, I just
Got
have
a specific
a quick
question.
comment, Mr. Chairman, if I can.
Sure.
So the June Street, and it's particularly evident to me that, it's a really good project, that I'm glad we're doing it, and I drive it every day, so I see it in all the different seasons, winter and spring, and when the water table is high, and I think it's always high at this point. I talked to some neighbors, and they said in the past 5 years in particular, it's gotten worse. And what I see is people draining water out of their basements, not just when we have rain, even when it's dry out, even when we've had no rain. And I just think of really high water table. So I'm just curious, sort of a little bit, you don't have to dive into the too technical, but will what we do solve some of the basement flooding issues, or will it simply just take care of drainage from rain and stormwater?
The design that we implemented was just for the street drainage.
Sure.
Will not do anything for the basement.
Yeah, and there's not much we could do for a high
No, it's
water
just-
table.
It's just an extremely high water table down there.
Yeah,
The problem with the drainage, the current drainage system, is that there's a lot of vitrified clay, old concrete pipe that is in disrepair and collapsed. Sections of it are actually collapsed.
okay.
So this project is basically a total rebuild of the entire drainage system.
Good, and so the stormwater will flow easier and better when we're.
Right,
done.
I mean, it may help the basements in that it'll be taking the water away from the properties and it won't be backing up so much.
That'd be
so
great, yeah.
That may help,
A
but
step in the right direction.
it's not designed to dry the basements.
Okay, and just real quick, I think I recall when I was on the Sewer and Water Commission that there was a program that, that obviously we want to discourage people from having any sump pumps pumping water into the sewer system. And this would be a situation where, I'm not saying it is happening, but we don't want to penalize people for that. We want to encourage them to, I think there was a grant program where we could encourage people to make the retrofits.
Right, we actually had an amnesty program way back
Right.
in the
Yeah.
early 2000s, maybe.
Yeah.
And there were, I believe, 4 houses on that street
On that
that
street?
actually took advantage of it.
Oh, good, okay,
It was funded through the first Siemens expansion as part of their I&I
yeah,
obligation. Pumping groundwater to the sewer system is prohibited,
yeah,
so by our MWRA permit.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it's also prohibited under the stormwater bylaw.
right,
So where do you put it?
sure.
Sometimes it's practical to pump it overland onto your lawn, but if you don't have a large enough lot and the soils are not good, it's simply gonna back into the house, so.
Yeah, no, I'm not looking to penalize people at all, but, if there are solutions, or amnesty program sounds great, if there's a way we could help the neighborhood deal with the situation they're dealing with, then I would encourage that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. That's all.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, I can make a motion too.
Actually, I've got a question. Any other questions before we go there? Just from a timing point of view, when the work will begin and when it's projected to end?
The contract duration is 420 calendar days.
Okay.
Supply chain issues.
Yeah.
The contractor that did the work on Winter Street recently, I was speaking with him. He does a lot of work down at the Cape. And he had a pipe job, I think it was relatively small, it was like 8,000 feet. He ordered his pipe in November and just got it 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So, I know the contractor is ready to go. It's just a matter of being able to get the pipe and the fittings.
Yeah. So just given the experience that we're having on Main Street and all of this disruption that's causing, I would just ask that we think hard about, how we minimize the disruption, knowing it's gonna take over a year to get the work done, and perhaps a lot longer, to your point, on supply chain, and,
Yeah, fortunately, we have a lot of secondary streets.
yeah.
So the impact of the general
great.
public won't be that great. South Street may be the biggest challenge that we have, because it is a heavily traveled route. So we'll have to get creative with traffic plans.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Rick. Okay, Glenn.
Okay, yeah, make a motion to award bid contract 2022-12 water main replacement at various locations and June Street drainage to PG Hayes Incorporated.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500. Thank you, Rick. Okay, let's go to the next one, Jim.
So next project up is the high school HVAC dust system management here at the wood shop. A couple of bids were received on that one, and you may recall that we are funding this through 2 different sources, both related to ARPA. First source is about $200,000 from a state earmark that our state delegation was able to secure for us and the remaining 120 in this case was through the county ARPA process. So we're only gonna need to use 120 of that. We're gonna keep the other 30 as contingency if it comes up, which is great news. So I'd recommend favorable action and award bid contract 22-20 to Ramco Contractors, which who we worked with before, that name looks familiar, based in Bloomfield, Connecticut. Don's satisfied.
Great, okay. Any questions for Jim? Glenn?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to award bid contract 2022-20 Walpole High School Workshop Dust Collector to Ramco Contractors Incorporated.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. All right, let's continue forward with new business. We have vote to open the fall 2022 town meeting warrant. Jim?
So we're asking you to open it. This is generally our standard time when we open it. I think a few years ago, we pushed it up a week or two just to try to give some people some more time to get things in. As part of my updates, one of the notes I had here is we're planning on closing it on August 23rd. And before that date, I will be seeking input from the select board as far as where do you think we should hold town meeting? When do you think we should hold it? Do you want to transition back to the Monday nights? But that's something I'm not looking for an answer on right now, but before we finalize the warrant, I will need some direction from the board on that one. So just looking to open it now. We'll probably have our standard articles on there. OPEB from free cash, stabilization into the two different accounts. All of our capital items will be addressed in the fall. Any zoning issues that may come up. I can't think of anything else huge off the top of my head, but I'm sure there'll be many other things that we'll cover. So just recommend opening it at this time.
It looks like we're gonna be looking to close it on the August 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions for Jim? Glenn?
Now I'll make a motion to open the fall 2022 town meeting warrant and close it on August 23rd, 2022.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. Okay, we've got a request from Alicia Leclerc to use the Adams Farm on June 17th. Glenn?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the request of Alicia Leclerc to use Adams Farm on June 17th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for a gardening seminar for high school students.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. Let's go to the consent agenda.
Oh, okay, sure. Make a motion to accept with gratitude the following donations from multiple donors to the Night Before the 4th gift account, total of $460.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. And let's go to the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of May 17th, 2022 as presented in our packet.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0.
Abstention?
Oh, yes, thank you. Yep. 4-0-1. Thank you, Ally. Okay, so I think we're K for close on open forum.
I
So
can
I'm
cover a couple of things.
Oh, you wanted that?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
So just a few items on going back to town meeting. Capital requests are set to due back to town administration within the next few weeks. I plan on reviewing those requests and having a list developed by late June, early July. You'll see tonight that I really want to take the ARPA request and compare them side by side with the capital request and see where we can fund some of these different items. Once I have something, I don't expect our free cash to be certified until mid to late August, which is generally when it is, but we'll have some rough numbers to work off of at that time, and then working with this board and with capital and with FinCom, just let everybody know that there could be some adjustments once free cash comes in. And then just a note about, thank you for reminding me of Walpole Day. This week, the parade's gonna kick off on Saturday morning, starting at 11. And we're ready to go. Brendan's doing a great job getting everything together. And the pools are just about ready to go. Dawn's worked closely with the rec department. We may be able to open up a few days early this year. We're just waiting on a few chlorinators to be up and working, but the pools are holding water, which is always a good thing. And we're good to go, so that's it for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim. Okay, yeah, as I was starting to say, it's K for close to 7:25. I'm gonna move us forward to open forum. Anybody here who would like to speak at open forum? Mr. Hamilton, please come up to the podium.
Thank you. William Hamilton, Precinct 5. There has been talk of extending the sewer up 1A. if the sewer is extended 1.1 mile up Route 1A to Industrial Road, then the MWRA can bring the sewer across the street to their easement through the junkyards, all the way to the correctional sewage treatment plant, which is polluting the Charles River watershed. At the same time, the MWRA can hook up the sewer to the sludge dump. The owner of the sewer pipe controls who connects until the sewer pipe is turned over to the town. I presented documents and testified in court to allow a family to hook up to the sewer in front of their home because it had not been turned over to the town and was owned privately. This must be considered if funding is discussed for extending the sewer up 1A. We need to be prepared if they are going to try to connect to the sewer, to the sludge dump, because I don't want to see that happen, and I hope the boards don't. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else like to speak at open forum? Yes, please come up.
Josette Burke, Precinct 4. I am hoping that you will consider changing town meeting election to a weekday as other communities have. I've been working over 20 years there, and we had a horrible time this year getting people to volunteer to come in. You have First Communion, you have graduation, you have college graduations. June is really a horrible time to get people to volunteer, especially at the beginning of the month. And Norwood, Medfield, so many other towns, they do their town meeting midweek. And I would like you to consider that option. And when we have a turnout of 13 to 15%, that's disgraceful. That we've got nothing to lose by trying it. And I really think it would be a lot more successful than what the Saturday has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Josette. I'll just give a very brief response to that and tell you that we are going to be looking at how we're going to hold town meeting, and we're moving that back onto the Monday, Wednesday kind of cadence, so there'll be more discussion around that for sure. I think the holding of the election is a lot more involved in terms of, what changes would have to be made, and perhaps it's something we should go look at. So I appreciate your comment, but we'll certainly be looking at town meeting for sure. Okay.
We ended up having to go to social media to look for volunteers,
Mm-hmm.
and you shouldn't have to.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josette. Anyone else for open forum? Sure, come on up.
Dennis Crowley, I'm on the Finance Committee. I live in Precinct 5. Unknown to me, I was actually going to raise the same exact subject.
Okay.
Yeah. The Saturday, the first Saturday in June tends to be one of the best weather days, and after long winters, I think that voter turnout is continuously low.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get in. I would highly recommend moving it to a Tuesday traditionally, as we do most other voting days, but unknown to me. Just add to that second.
Thank you, appreciate the comment.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Certainly, Glenn.
Is there anything in our charter that dictates when we hold the town
Yes.
election?
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so it's the first Saturday of June, and that's what's required?
Yes.
As far as we know, okay.
That's why I say that one is a lot more complicated than moving town meeting, and would require quite a bit more steps, but nonetheless, maybe something we should think about. All right, last call for open forum. Okay, I'm going to move us ahead now to the big discussion we need to have today, which is around ARPA. So some little context and tee up here. So what we're here to talk about today is we're trying to get input from a wide range of boards, committees, and even individuals on how to think about prioritization of the ARPA funding that we have available to us. And to that end, Jim has been running a process to go and gather input from various sources, which we're going to talk about tonight. This is going to be an informational conversation that we felt it important that the board hear from a large number of people in terms of how to think about the ARPA funds and what made the most sense and so forth. So our goal tonight is to go through the request as expeditiously as possible. I think we've allocated 5 minutes per group to come through and talk. So, and I'll let a little leeway on that. Obviously, this is an important conversation, but I would ask you to be concise And we'll allow the board to ask questions along the way. And at the end, I'll open it up to anybody else who would like to offer any thoughts as well. Because again, I think all input is welcome here. It's one step along the process. We have meetings coming up with Compass in a couple of weeks, June 21st, I believe it is, to get a read on some of the building work that they've been doing, assessing the town hall, the old town hall, the middle school, Johnson Middle School, and even the high school, and get some input there as well. So then what the board will be doing is taking all that input and somewhere in the, I'm making this up, but July, August timeframe, start to sort that out. But tonight is a very important step along that way. So Jim, let me turn it over to you. I know you've got a short presentation you want to take us through.
So I'll be brief, and thank you and hello, everyone. I wanted to take this opportunity prior to the select board getting started with the discussion to provide everyone here tonight with a brief overview of what we're discussing and why we're here tonight. So the American Rescue Plan was a $1.9 trillion federal law signed by President Biden back on March 11, 2021. The purpose of the law was to respond to the public health and economic impacts of the public health emergency created by COVID-19. On the local level, eligible uses consisted of expenses to respond to the public health emergency or negative economic impacts, premium pay for employees providing essential work during the emergency, revenue replacement and compliance, water, sewer, and broadband projects. Walpole is set to receive just about $7.3 million in ARPA funds that can be used here in our town. Walpole has never received this much funds directly from the federal government at one given time. After attending multiple seminars and presentations as to how and when these funds can be used, I thought it was appropriate that the select board come here tonight and listen to what is being asked and review each of these requests. As board members will soon see, we have a lot of requests. Your board is going to need to make some really tough decisions in the near future. As each of you are well aware, the town has already requested and received funding from the county for the projects listed here up on the board. This leaves us with just about $5.2 million available for other items. The board's been discussing ARPA funds since last fall. The federal, state, and county governments have made some changes along the way since we first discussed these items and these funds. I expect that there will be some additional changes over the next few months and years as we adjust to these given funds and these new projects. Over the next few weeks and months, I expect the select board will want to discuss the various projects that you'll consider tonight. I also expect that you may want to compare the list to what was submitted for capital requests later on this month. I do expect the board will meet at least one or two more times over the summer and fall to discuss the various funding requests. Town administration received over $43 million in requests from various town officials. Copies of those requests can be found outside the door if you haven't picked up a copy. As each of you are aware, the ARPA funds fall under the sole discretion of the select board. As you can see, with this list, it covers a wide range of projects, from sewer to water to investment in our schools and our DPW. Eventually, your board will need to decide which of these projects are funded. If you scroll down, Pat, on the link. We have time to recommend it. I don't recommend we rush into this at all. I think your board should come here tonight, listen to some of the projects that are being asked, just as you talked about, Jim, and figure out how the best way to spend this. Do we want to spread it out around to different departments, or is it best to just focus on a few little areas? You'll see this $5 million and change will not go very far. So with that, I'll hand it back to the chair and go from here.
Thanks, Jim. Good update, and I think it sets good context for everybody to understand kind of where we've been, where we're going, and what the process is all about. Reiterating what Jim said, $43 million in ask against $5.2 million of available funding. This is not going to be an easy task, and that's why it's important to get input from a wide range of sources. So we'll do that starting tonight. The way we're going to go about this is I'd like to have, the order we're going to follow is going to be the school committee and superintendent, water and sewer commissioners, finance committee chair and vice chair, capital budget chair, if available. I'm not sure Eddie's going to make it, but, and then we'll open it up. I know, Sarah, you're here. It's good to see you. I know you've got some things. Is Mike Amaral here? He was potentially going to come as well. And we'll open up to anybody else who wants to make a point. So input is what we're here tonight to get. So with that all said, and I just, again, would ask you to try and be concise, but let's start with the school committee. So come on up to the podium, and Bill and Bridget, or whoever's going to do it, and let's step through it. Oh, one last thing, and Jim, I think you mentioned it, but there are handouts, they're outside. So if anybody is looking for handouts of the list of all the requests, they're outside the door.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Bill Buckley, Chair of the School Committee for another couple of days. Thank you very much for having us. My colleagues and I am joined here by our ARPA czar, Mike Frisha, and Superintendent Goff. We did a lot of deliberation around what could be utilized within our school department. We looked at the final rule very closely, and we came up with 3 areas of concern. We broke it up into 2 areas. I will, the numbers you have in front of you are not the full numbers for the projects. We tried not to be greedy and not ask for the full boat, knowing that there's $45 million worth of requests and $5 million on the table. So I'll just outline them quickly. As I was told, I couldn't speak for the whole night from the DPW director, because I could about this, obviously. I also want to point out that I do run Norfolk County's ARPA program, but I do not get to work on wall poles. Obviously, if I did, we'd be getting the full $45 million and not be meeting tonight, so that's good. So we've looked at really 3 areas of concern. One is HVAC installation, which is sort of part of the root and core of responding to the pandemic. 1.7 is the area within the final rule that this applies to. So we're looking at $940,000 to do just the old 1907 wing, which is, for those who didn't go to Walpole High, the history, English, and art wing, the oldest part, the farthest to the right when you're looking at the building. And that is kind of in concert with wider district-wide goals of working on HVAC in all of our elementary schools, or 3 of our elementary schools who have aging HVAC. So you'll see that come in capital. You could spend it all $5 million on HVAC within the schools, but we're looking to target that number just for the oldest wing of the high school, and bring that up to a total HVAC number of $1.3 million. That, we believe, would take a pretty good chunk of the foreign language wing, the 1957 wing, which is the back left wing, in the closest to the town forest as well. Secondly, under revenue replacement, we would like to use $410,000 to put an Elm Street traffic signal on 27. Anyone who has attempted to pick up children at Elm Street knows it is highly dangerous. We're very grateful that this board, working in concert with the state, is dealing with Fisher's traffic problems on 1A, but we get complaints all the time, and there are, we do have public safety here, there are far too many near misses up there as well. And thirdly, looking at our next large capital project, which is the high school, we would like to request $1.7 million of ARPA money for a total project cost of $3 million for the schematic design through revenue replacement of an addition to the high school. The committee is not looking at renovating and putting additions to the entire building. We are laser focused on STEM. Putting additions to the entire building, we are laser focused on STEM, and we think through conversations with our partners on the town side that that cost of that project would be about $30 million, and 10% of that, which is a good benchmark to see what the schematic buildable designs are, would be $3 million. Again, we understand that wouldn't fit into an ARPA category necessarily, but it could, you could utilize your revenue replacement money for that. And as I said, we are just kind of to look forward, we are looking at perhaps $1 million a piece per elementary school for HVAC improvements as well, which you will see in our capital requests later in the month, and we know you're looking at all those together. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions
Or
for
you
Bill?
can just say yes.
Yeah, Glenn?
Yeah, if I may. So Bill, I noticed you talked about the Walpole High School design, and you also talked about HVAC in the old wing. Is there any clashing there with the renovations that are being proposed for the high school overlap with that area?
In fact, it's the opposite. We're looking at, we believe that the thrust of the renovation is really going to be in that science, in that kind of, if you're looking at the building towards the left. And so we think very little work will be done in the 1908 or 1957 wings. However, if you've ever been there on a June day or a September day, it's quite difficult to concentrate. It can get pretty soupy.
Sure.
And the temperature is well within the 80s, to the point where there were a couple of times last year where we seriously considered canceling school because of the heat. So this would, we hope, take care of that need, which we really don't believe outside of the kind of panacea of ARPA we would be able to address
Okay, good.
otherwise.
Yeah, good to know. And one more, just shifting gears. You didn't mention it, but Johnson Middle School is obviously going to be coming up as a potential location for any number of facilities, whether it's rec department, but also in a number of other places, but also schools. And I have heard discussion about the Feeney School doing very well and being very popular. I take part in it for my kids. And I was just wondering if there's any plan, you didn't mention it here tonight, but is there any plan or need for future renovation at Johnson for any number of areas?
Respectfully, I would, the school committee, we haven't discussed it, but we would not ask you for any money until we are sure it's going to be a school. And if a third of it is a school, we would like to be, we would request a third of that funding,
Sure.
but we would not want to say on our balance sheet, be saddled with all the need to renovate that building if it's going to be veterans housing or a rec, preschool, food pantry.
So it's a potential need, we just
It's a
haven't
potential, yeah.
identified it yet.
We could do it. I mean, if you want to do it, we could absolutely. The director of the Daniel Feeney Preschool has given up her office for a small special needs classroom, so she's on a cart.
Sure.
There is no space.
Yeah, the need is
no,
definitely
anymore.
defined, so.
So if I could just piggyback on that
Yeah.
point. I did put that in under school department just because I wanted to identify it as a placeholder, and I actually went forward with the $3 million in the high school design. I want you to know what the cost all in is. I like the idea that Chairman Buckley mentioned that we're not looking to fund all of it through ARPA. Maybe we could pick and choose and get things done one way or another by taking some of the other accounts. But on June 21st, the select board, the school committee is going to be joining us too. We're going to be hearing a presentation from Compass that covers 3 buildings. The Walpole High School feasibility project, they're going to give us an update on that. They're going to give us an update as to, they did a building study of the old town hall and the Johnson Middle School. So they're going to be bringing forward some numbers, associated cost estimates to make improvements on these buildings. So what you see here, especially for the old town hall, when Mr. Amaral came in, he gave her a number of $1 million to $5 million. I picked 2.5. But more or less, those are placeholders, and I think you'll gain a lot of information by listening to Compass in 2 weeks. And
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I wanted to just mention that because I think it's on the list, whether it's a priority for you or other people, but yeah, it's worth talking about.
Any other questions for Bill? Yes, Ben?
Bill, you mentioned the traffic signal at Elm Street School for, $400,000, $425,000, somewhere in that range. Is there like a study that has been done there, and
There
can you
has, in
expand upon
fact,
that a little more?
and through the leadership of Mr. Johnson, working with Mike Frisha and their team, they've looked at that, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is basically the most cost-effective and efficient way to address that. There were other options to kind of do additional roads and things like that, but we think this is the most immediate and most beneficial to the safety. I mean, I was out there holding a sign last year before the override and watched almost 4 or 5 fender benders just in an hour. So anyone who's dropped off children there knows that it's a very dangerous road. So
it is.
So
we've
there was-
elevated that in our.
There was a capital request for that back in the fall. We followed through on that. We did a traffic study. We've had a considerable amount of meetings with our traffic consultant, with Carl in engineering and Rick up in DPW. So I believe that is the most refined number we have at this time. So, yeah, we're pretty comfortable with it. It's been studied. Obviously, inflation, the way it's going, it might not be enough, but we'll have to adjust that if we really want to pursue it. He's good. He's good with it? Okay.
And so we would need to go out and do a design then. A design hasn't been done, so that 400,000 some odd would include a design and then construction.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not
a
just
rough
shovel-ready.
study, rough design there.
Yeah, it's a rough idea, but
Yeah.
that's the all-in cost.
Call it a schematic phase
Yeah.
that's been done.
And through you, this is a second sort of wave. We've also identified the other large-scale concern is obviously the
Yeah.
traffic at the high school, and so we've worked on remedying that. So this is sort of the next up as most dangerous.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we want to be able to identify as board members as well is, what projects are quote, shovel-ready, have a design, have funding, or don't, or at what stage is it going to be that we can perform some of these, so that's good to know. And then my second question, Bill, was when you talk about the HVAC at the high school, and you mentioned two different wings that would either combined be 1.3 million, or the 1907 wing would be 940,000. Do either or both of those have air conditioning now or air handling systems, or they do not at all?
There is no air conditioning, and I think when we talk about HVAC, we're talking about, in one sense, electrification.
Right.
And when, as you know, to Jim's point about cobbling together different parcels of funding, our initial proposal to put solar on a couple of our buildings, combined with credits for electrification of the HVAC system, combined with efficiencies and overall costs, we're hoping to kind of cobble all of those together to create the desired effect. But right now, we heat it in the winter, and there's airflow
Right.
through ducts that are older. I mean,
Yeah.
the system itself is 100 and
Yeah, I don't want to get too hung up on semantics, but the idea being that this isn't something that's like a replacement or a repair or maintenance. This
Right.
would be like, it's not there now, and we need it,
Correct.
and so it's a new
Yeah.
build, so to speak. we would
And
call
it also, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, it also highly jacks up the MERV
Yeah.
rating as well.
Yeah.
Which is, again, kind of the root of what ARPA is looking to do.
Yes.
Any other questions for Bill? I'm gonna move us on then in the spirit of trying to stay on schedule here.
Thank you
One
very
thing I
much.
would suggest is, knowing the amount that we have, I'd ask you to go back and take a hard look at your prioritization here. Not only the projects themselves, but within the projects. How could you break these things down and put some options on the table that we can work with? Okay?
Excellent.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, next up, I think we've got the Water and Sewer Commissioners. So, Bill?
Thank you. Bill Abbott, member of the Sewer and Water Commission. We also have a number of our other commissioners. We also have the superintendent. On water, our first request is to clean the raw water lines leading from our wells to our treatment plant. As you're all well aware, the reason we have our treatment plants is to address the naturally occurring iron and manganese that is in the groundwater. And the treatment plants remove that. However, we have lines running from the wells to the treatment plants that are obviously getting the untreated water. The superintendent supplied me with a picture of our line from Robbins Road to the treatment plant. And it actually takes a lot of electricity, and I'll give this to the
Thank you, Bill.
good close look of. And this is important to us, and it affects our ratepayers, because the two most expensive parts on of our expenses, so out of that $1.7 million of operating expenses, 54% of it is electricity and the chemical to treat the water that comes out. The electric is, for this coming fiscal year, is $540,000, so roughly just under a third. So obviously, cleaning this line won't eliminate electricity. We'll still have to use electricity, but we're making those pumps work extra hard. The superintendent today gave me, for Minebrook 5, just one of the wells, we're going at 70 PSI. Some of them are down to 20 PSI. So it's, as you can see, there's very little room to push the water through. So this is something that's been a long time item of interest to us. And now with an opportunity to get that, it has an opportunity to save money. As I mentioned, 54% of our expenses is the treatment chemicals and the electricity. So the second request, which is $2.9 million, is a redundant line to our central pressure zone water tanks. Those are the two tanks that, they used to be the ones you could see on High Plains Street. Now, once we demolished them, they were actually behind Old Post Road. We have a 3 million gallon and 2 million gallon tank. The way our system works is the wells send the water to the treatment plant. the treatment plant sends them into the the central pressure zone. And then we have booster pumps that send it to the high pressure zones. So this is a key part of our system, is our keeping water, being able to deliver it into the central pressure zone, and particularly to get it into those 5 million gallon tanks. Currently, we only have a single line to get that, and if that goes down, obviously we have a large problem, not only just supplying water to residents, but if there was ever a fire at that point, that's when you really need the storage, because you're going to use huge amounts of water. So that's a key thing that one of our high priorities. The third one is the Willis membrane replacement. Our two treatment plants basically operate the same way in that they take the iron and manganese out. The Delaney plant off of Washington Street uses green sand filtration, very much like your home swimming pool. You have sand, you put the water in, and it captures whatever you're trying to take out. You periodically have to backwash it. The Willis plant, which is off of John Turco Drive, uses the idea is the same, but we couldn't use green sand filtration. We had to use something that's called Z-weed, which is basically, there are strands of, looks like spaghetti. They're probably about 5 feet long, and we have hundreds of them. So you pass the water that has been treated, and now we have to separate the good water from the contaminants. And so what basically, these strands have microscopic holes that only the water can get through. We have to replace them periodically. We're getting close to the time when we need to replace those, and that's a little bit over $1 million. Doing this, it is something that we have to do. We certainly cannot operate year-round without both treatment plants in operation. The fourth request was addressing the water main replacement on June Ave, Rhodes Ave. There was a number of smaller roads that totaled $2.8 million. This was part of our program to replace all the old cast iron mains with new ductile iron lines, which provides better quality water to residents. So that's what the water requests are. We did not, we did certainly discuss.
Let me just pause you there.
Sure.
Let's just ask the water questions first. Any questions for Bill on water? Ben?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. The cleaning the raw water lines, so that's just cleaning the, you showed that picture of all the deposits on the inside?
Right.
That's just cleaning that out. It's not a new pipe, right?
No, not a new pipe. The redundant is a new pipe.
Right. Does
Right.
it make sense, the raw water lines, to put in a new pipe or a bigger pipe, or is there something that we can do? When was the last time it was cleaned? Might be
Well, I've been a commissioner off and on since 1982, so I don't remember us doing it.
Okay.
Now, there's times that I was not on the commission. I don't know if Scott or Rick, do you remember the last time we cleaned those lines? Scott's the superintendent of sewer and water.
Scott Gustafson, Superintendent of Water. The last time that the Willis plant had its lines cleaned was in 2004. Around 1997, 98, the Delaney plant had its lines cleaned. They have not been done since.
Okay, thank you. And then the second one, the redundant water line, how long has that been on the list for sewer and water? I mean, how long has that been a need, like a capital improvement, so to speak?
Well, I would say it's been a need ever since we've had the tanks there.
Okay.
It's a very expensive item.
Right.
It's one of those things that it works, obviously,
Yeah.
and it's, to operate our water system, we have a lot of capital needs. Some of the recent ones are replacing the skater equipment in the treatment plants, because the manufacturer is no longer making the modules. Those sort of things that we had to do to keep the system operating have taken precedence. But when you look at our capital, you'll often see things that are like in the 4th year, 5th year.
Right.
And they continue there because there are things that, geez, we got to do this, and the other thing's at least working. So
Okay, is that
it has been a need for a long, long time.
I'm sorry, yeah. So is that something where you would say all towns have redundant lines in a system like this? It's standard operating procedures to do it, and there's not really a good reason we don't? Or is it something that is like a belts and suspenders we'd really like to have? It's kind of subjective, but
Yeah.
you see what I'm getting at.
Well, certainly, every town's water system is different. So
Sure, I know
wouldn't
that's
say-
pretty subjective,
Yeah,
but.
but I think what you do look at is trying to produce redundancy.
Right.
Just for the sake of things, we have water mains break.
Yep.
We just had one earlier today.
Yep.
Yep. And you want to be able to make sure that you minimize the impact, as well as certainly for fire protection.
Right, the high-risk points in the system, that is a high-risk point right
This-
there.
As I say, all our wells go to the treatment plants put the water into the central pressure zone.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Thanks.
Yeah, I have a couple quick questions.
go ahead.
if I can.
Go-
Yeah,
sorry,
so,
Glenn, go
I mean, and I won't repeat what Ben already said. He made some good points and good questions. They are all important projects. Bill, I appreciate you running through them. The last one, the water main replacement, it says that we approved that in fall annual
Right.
town meeting. So, and the water commission, the water department is in a unique position to do its own borrowing, and you have your own retained earnings.
Right.
So you do have the ability, and none of the other departments in town have that ability, but other than town-wide. So you do have the ability to tax and borrow and spend your retained earnings. So that has been approved by town meeting, $2.8 million?
Correct.
And is there a reason why it hasn't been done, or are you asking?
Well,
Go ahead.
it's in the design phase at this point.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons that it's on is it has a direct impact on what the rates that we'll have to charge. On a project of this size, and I don't believe that we've actually determined, but it would add like another 200,000 in that order of magnitude to our debt and I presume we'd probably borrow this for 20, 25 years.
Right.
So,
But you also have debt that would be falling off at the same time. So
We do.
New debt is coming on while old debt falls off. And so I'm sure there's a plan that would, allow the rates to hopefully be kept moderately in
it
check.
was, no, this is not the last of our cast iron mains that have to be replaced. It was just an opportunity to, in effect, if we could, get one done for free so that we'd be able to go to the next one and the one after that. And you have to time them because you can't just keep adding, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt every year, particularly when long-term debt, you're talking, say the next 20 years. So.
Yeah, and just the chairman had mentioned as far as prioritizing with the school department, so if you were gonna prioritize, that's the water main replacement, that $2.8 million, which has been considered and approved by town meeting, that's likely to move forward if you don't get help from ARPA, whereas the other projects might move forward eventually, but don't
Right.
have that same consideration.
Yeah,
Excuse me, the project that you voted tonight was that $2.8 million appropriation.
Right,
PGA Hayes contract.
right.
So I was gonna say, Glenn. what we
Thanks for
could-
clarifying that.
We borrowed that back in February, and we were able to take advantage of the low interest rates. I know the commissioners had asked for these 4 projects to take priority there. My thought process on that, of course, it's on there at their request, but we could, like Bill had just mentioned, we could go on for years with our water main replacement
Right,
projects. And I think it was their intention to try to get a little bit ahead of it and save a little bit of money on the long-term borrowing there. So
Right.
there still may be an opportunity there.
I think getting ahead makes more sense, as opposed to helping keep the rates artificially low might not make as much sense. So and thanks for the perspective that we did approve it tonight. So I just think as far as priorities, that might be on the lower end.
yeah, I think that the top two are the ones that we mentioned first.
Okay.
Obviously, you've seen a picture of what that,
Right.
the raw water
So-
lines look like.
Yeah.
And that does have, we're spending money to electricity and for chemicals, for treatment, that if we can correct this, we can reduce costs.
Yeah, got it.
And certainly the redundant line is very important.
Got it. Thanks, Bill.
Okay.
Go on to the sewer.
Thanks, Bill, yep.
Yeah, the commission did discuss some sewer projects. The problem with sewers, it's very, very expensive. And and one of the things that we want to do is try and get a sense of, does the public actually want it? As you're probably aware, we do have a sewer master plan that lists 20 different phases and prioritizes them based on need. But I'll just address the items that are listed here. We did discuss about the industrial road sewer. That was in priority order, actually would need to be addressed by phase 4, 5, and 6 would address everything. What is being proposed here is just a subset and really not following the master plan. Right now, there is sewer in part of Production Road. There's no sewer in Industrial Road. And I'm just speaking for myself, as I said, the commission didn't take a vote on this, was that if the only reason that I think that we should consider sewering Industrial Road, which basically those buildings are on septic systems, is if we can generate more property tax by improving the people of the businesses that are there. I did take a drive up there just to refresh my memory what that industrial park looks like and all, and I think that my first thought was that it's a hard place to get to, thinking that off of 95 or Route 1. But I've since had some second thought. If you consider the Rolls-Royce plant on Norfolk Street, equally hard to get to. Seems to me that maybe there are certain businesses that would go there. However, if you just look at the facility, that road, that area, I don't think addressing providing sewer would now say Rolls-Royce type or even equivalent want to come. I think the town, if it wants to do something, should be also spending some money to really get that looking a lot better. And also I would hope that the economic development folks would be able to say, yes, we've tried, this is the things you got to correct. My personal opinion is just changing from septic systems to spending $7 million. I'm not sure that we'll get it, but again, I want to just say that's my personal opinion. If we were able to, then I'd say yes. If the property tax base would benefit, maybe it is worthwhile. The North Walpole sewer expansion, our master plan specifically did not address the rural areas on the basis that they're larger lots, they should be able to have septic systems. And obviously we have many homes in the rural areas who are on septic systems. And particularly in North Walpole, those homes are roughly 30 years old. We have had some interest of replacing those systems, and their opportunity to replace without getting sewer is a mounded system, which most people don't want. But one of the concerns that we would have is, yes, we now have a sort of conceptual design with a cost estimate of what it would take to sewer those homes in North Walpole that aren't. And the thing that we didn't get addressed is, where does that fit in the priorities, those 20 phases that we have right now? So there is a need up there, but we also have 20 other phases. The third one that's listed, well, Morningside Drive, that 296, as you're aware, we tried at town meeting to get a substitute motion that failed, and so we will have to address rates without it.
So I'm going to give you the same offer that I give you a couple of times now, and again, we haven't talked about it as a board, but we do need to have a broader discussion on our rates. Not tonight. It's not the time.
Right.
My inclination would be to do something with that $296,000 out of the ARPA funds if it could get us in somewhere down the path on the rates. So again, not a discussion for tonight, but if you guys could take that away and think about it, I think we get a meeting of the minds here and figure out how we solve that problem. Okay?
Well, we are scheduled to have a rate hearing on June 13th, so that's something I know that I'm available, and I assume that my fellow commissioners would be available also. We do not have a meeting scheduled between now and the rate hearing. And as I said, that we'd certainly be interested in seeing if that is possible. Again, as you're well aware, was not viewed favorably by town meeting, so I'm not sure how that.
I agree, but I think it's a bigger question. So, and again, we don't want to get into it tonight,
Right.
but I just want to reiterate my willingness to have that conversation, okay?
Well, if you're willing, we're willing to.
Awesome, let's do it.
If there's anyone else who has a question, otherwise, we'll go on to the next.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Anybody?
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right, next up, I think, Mark Trudell, FinCom Chair. You're gonna-
Mr. Chair, Mr. Fasenelli was raising his
Oh,
hand.
I'm sorry, Pat.
I just wanted to ask a couple of things.
Could you come up to the mic there? Sorry, Mark. Jumped the gun.
Well, good evening, folks. Congratulations to Mr. Barrett and to Ms. Hamilton for a good fight and your recent victory. On April 28th of this year, the Sewer and Water Commissioners got an update for water and sewer from our agent, Mr. Johnson. And when I saw the paper this evening, this one, you're familiar with this? There were some inconsistencies that I just wanted to address. One of them was the design of the redundant water main, which is very important. If you cast your mind back a little bit, remember the MWRA they actually had to stop drinking water. Do you remember this about 3 or 4 years ago? We were very happy to be on a separate system. It was because they did not have a redundant supply, which they are now building at great cost. So that's pretty important. The figure we got for that was $1,250,000. And on this chart, the latest chart I picked up tonight, it's almost $3 million. Now, this is April 28th. We're June, 7th? Why the huge jump?
Could we do this, Pat? I'd rather stay focused on the projects tonight, and rather than debate the numbers. Probably need the numbers right,
Well-
right? So I'd really rather not get into that tonight. I'd really rather stay focused on our mission, and let's have a side conversation on figuring out what the real right number is. The project
Well, the
discussion is
numbers
the
are
most
important
thing.
because there's only so much money. Are we using the figures from the April 28th meeting? Or are we using the figures from?
Okay.
So
know,
just to,
tonight-
I can speak to it quickly. Those were old numbers that we were going off of. They were
Which
based.
numbers now?
The numbers you mentioned in April.
On the
Those
28th.
are off of the fall 2021 list. As you know, I've gone to, inflation skyrocketed through there. We're seeing projects go through the roof. That was based on an estimate at the time. I've gone to Rick and Scott and asked them, give us some firm numbers on this one. So I stick by those, the
You
2.9
understand that we
million.
made our decisions on what we were given by our agent?
Yep.
Okay, that's why these numbers are important. So that's the number, and I can go through all the other numbers, but they all went up.
Yeah.
And I was shocked anyway, that, we're asking for so much money, and we, like I say, we were working off, I guess, incorrect information. And I'd like to point that out, that's all.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, Mark?
Good evening, Mark Trudell, Finance Committee Chair. Just a quick question. Under the engineering department, there's a bunch of streets. Are those resurfacings, or are they some other form of road repair?
That's the culverts.
Yeah.
Okay. In reviewing this stuff since this morning, I like the water projects for cleaning the water lines and the pump station membrane. I think that's something that's very doable, and it fits within the $5 million that we're looking for. Some of the other projects of larger numbers probably would do better off if we grouped them and did some debt work. I also like the idea of the downtown pedestrian corridor, if that's gonna bring foot traffic to business. If we can't look at it and say business is gonna improve downtown with foot traffic, it seems like wasted money. That's on the back, at the very bottom of the community development section. I'd be very interested in hearing more about what Mr. Amaral has in plans for the Old Town Hall. I know that when I was on the reuse committee, there was state money that was set aside, and it was a case of, okay, do we apply for the grant? How do we apply for the grant? If we decide to go forward with renovations for the Old Town Hall, and we put together a grant application to the state saying, hey, we would like to tap into that $1 million, and we're already earmarked to put in $1 million of ARPA money, that gets us a lot closer to getting whatever needs to be done to make that a structurally sound building and reusable building. And those are my key takeaways from the information presented tonight. I know you've got a lot on your agenda and a lot of options. I see a lot of items that are 100,000 and less. Those I would like to see just carry them into our fall town meeting, free cash, and regular capital budget types items. They're small, they're manageable. I mean, if we do package them and do some debt, great. It's not a large ticket number. Some of these other big ticket numbers, I think, need to be prioritized. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark or comments for Mark? I'd give you these comments. First of all, thank you for giving us your views on that. That's really helpful. And it is one of those questions that we're gonna have to balance here. You do a lot of little things or a couple of big things. And, you know, I think we're not at a point where we can make that decision yet, but that's the whole point of getting all this input, which is really helpful. But it is gonna be the conundrum we will have to, you know, go through, because it's 43 million against 5. So, yeah, okay. Thank you, Mark. Okay, is Eddie Forsberg here? I don't know if he was gonna be able to make it tonight. Anybody from Capital Budget who would like to offer a point of view? Okay. And Mike Amaral, did he arrive? No, okay. Sarah, that brings us to you. Please come to the mic.
Thanks for inviting me and for inviting everyone here. I think it's a really important discussion, and I really appreciate that the select board is doing this. It's nice to be here with a new member, and congratulations. My name is Sarah Khatib. I'm the president and founder of Destination Downtown, and we are a nonprofit group focused on revitalizing downtown Walpole and helping to make downtown Walpole an active and welcome place where people want to spend their time. So I'm going to offer for your consideration 4 projects, and these 4 projects kind of came out of a 2021 study, Rapid Recovery Program, which is a program funded by the state to help cities and towns recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. But really beyond that, these are things that have been studied and suggested and studied and suggested multiple times over, such as in the 2015 Downtown Action Plan, the 2019 Parking and Economic Development Plan, and even, excuse me, even going back to the 2004 Master Plan. So these are all things that have been studied. We have actionable plans ready to go that are based on data and expert analysis. So my hope is that we can take some of the ARPA dollars and bring funding and projects to the people, the businesses, and the community that have been affected by the pandemic. So I'll try to go through them quickly. First one is a small business technical assistance grant. And this grant has the potential for really transformational change for downtown and for individual businesses. A similar program was done by the Boston Main Street program, administered by Cambridge Retail Advisors, who we were lucky enough to have as our subject matter expert as a part of the Rapid Recovery Plan. And they worked with us to really understand Walpole, understand the kind of businesses we have, and really develop a plan that can help, downtown Walpole and the businesses recover. They can do things like bolster digital commerce adoption. They can help reduce operating costs. They can improve and or create websites from scratch. They can help with online sales and even online scheduling. Next project is to implement a comprehensive branding and wayfinding program for downtown. And so this is going to help raise Walpole's profile regionally. As a part of the rapid recovery, the experts studied Walpole and assessed grades for certain things. Our current wayfinding and signage grade is a C, so there's some opportunity for improvements there. With distinctive branding and a comprehensive wayfinding plan, visitors to downtown Walpole can really be able to easily find those businesses, those public spaces, and those areas of interest. They might also find, discover new places that they want to see or visit, either that visit or the next time. And really with some modest spending, and the spending that needs to be done is some expert analysis to create that brand and then manufacture the sign. But I think, with that and the help of Walpole DBW, we can really implement kind of a high impact, low cost program. Next one is to improve some amenities on the town common. And these kind of improvements can help the community with the daily use of the town common, and it can also support more event programming, such as some of the programs that we have done, Destination Downtown. We've done Uncommon Art on the Common, and then we hosted a porch, for the Porch Fest. So some of the things that we think would be most helpful is to install a sound system, and that could be used for different events and even for kind of some ambient, music, maybe around the holiday time or other times. It's just a nice addition to a town. To offer public Wi-Fi on the common, and to add signage and improve the pedestrian walkways. And the last one is to use the Old Town Hall as a temporary culture house pop-up. And this has been done in a couple different towns in Massachusetts, recently done in Salem, was done in Peabody, and I think also Somerville. So this is, it's a temporary culture house. It's a community center. And with the funding then, we can offer to the public free and diverse programming. And what that programming is really kind of up to the community. There's an organization, Culture House, which has a kind of an actionable plan. Part of it is to really spend some time engaging with the public and finding out what they would like. Do they want to have live music there? Do they want to have like an artist there? Do they want like a teen drop-in center one day? It's kind of really up to the community, but it's something that can really help build community and help build community resiliency, which I think we all need after the pandemic. We all, really need to come together. So I think it's really important. And also important, it can kind of serve as a test kitchen for potential investors of the Old Town Hall. I know we're all, hoping to find a more permanent use for the building, and this can kind of showcase to people, what it can be, and how it brings people and community downtown, which is also something that the businesses have asked for. They want more events. They want, more things to bring people downtown so that they support downtown businesses. So these are all have actionable plans that are ready to go. And importantly, we as an organization pledge to help raise additional funds and to seek additional grants. But we're really looking for the select board support on these. And,
Questions for Sarah? Yeah, Ben.
Thank you, Sarah. This is
Yeah.
really great information. I appreciate it. One of the things that we see on here, and I think it was down on the town common, was offering public Wi-Fi. And then if you look at the list, or if folks have the list from outside, there's a spot where they talk about Wi-Fi at the pool and upgrade Wi-Fi maybe at the library or town hall. I mean, I think that's something, just generally speaking, in town we could use more of, right? Is public access to Wi-Fi in the downtown area. So, I think that could be its own line item all on its own, right? So I think that's a really good point, and well taken. And then there are some kind of values in the list here that we have, 100,000 here or whatnot. Is that something, Jim, that you put in, or is that something that you guys have an idea of what it might be in terms of value?
I think Patrick Duchesne's worked to kind of give us some estimates on these, and
Okay.
that's where we came up with these
Okay.
figures.
All right, cool, thank you.
And we also have some estimates. Some of them you can see on the Rapid Recovery
Yep.
Plan,
Yep.
which is on the town website for anybody who wants to read that, whatever it is, 100-page report. But I did put the page numbers on the projects that I'm interested in, for folks to just,
Yeah.
review those 2 or 3 pages.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier to find. Thank you, Sarah.
I had a quick question.
Ellie.
So Sarah, do we have other local communities that have cultural centers currently in the downtown?
Right now,
Yeah.
I think Salem had one, and I'm not sure if it's going on right now. The idea with the Culture House, and I brought the proposal, it's like a 9-page proposal. I can leave it with you, or if anyone wants to take a look at it. But there's a few months of like community engagement, and then there's a few weeks to a month or two of the pop-up. And then you can decide as a community, do you want that like 3 days a week? Do you want 5 days a week of programming? And then following that, they do kind of a post-pop-up report, and then issue that to the community so they can really understand kind of what worked, what is the community looking for, and kind of maybe find ways to take that energy into other projects.
It's just an interesting thought, using the town hall as more of a cultural center.
Yeah,
And I was just wondering how other towns
I
are
think
utilizing
it was
that.
really Dave who kind of
Yes,
had the
so, hi,
idea.
Dave Clark, Precinct 7. So this affords the opportunity. There's been quite a few questions from the public about, hey, what's going on with the old town hall? And it's been several years since the police were relocated, and it's actually been several years since the follow-up reports come out. And so there's a general interest, and even a concern about some level of neglect that we have a resource that's not being used. So what this does is it sort of allows for perhaps a transitional action that says, we're not committing to some multi-decade use. We're committing to kind of a shorter-term exemplary use for the building to get kind of people involved, see what the level of interest is, get people engaged, and see what they want to do with it. And it probably will help with the landscape of where it could go in the future, I think. So I think it's a nice commitment without being a long-term commitment. So it's a good option, I think.
Thanks, Dave. Other questions? Glenn?
Say really briefly, I like the concept of the town common improving the amenities down there. When you talk about the outdoor sound system, it makes me think of Patriot Place a little bit, and you can get some good ambience going on there. So I think that's an interesting and a good idea, and a relatively low-cost idea, actionable idea, what Ben would call shovel-ready. I think it's great. And the comprehensive wayfinding and branding, I think we've already started down that path. I think, if I recall, capital budget, we approved like maybe 10 to 20,000, but not a lot, but we've, Pat DeShane has already put some effort into that.
Is working on
Yeah,
it.
so that's good. We can almost continue
There's
and expand.
several steps we can go. We can do like, the bare minimum, help people like figure out where the parking lots are, and then we can go beyond that, like, but all of it is needed.
Yeah, so those two ideas strike me, those two areas strike me as the, probably what I would consider my priorities, but do you have a priority yourself that you would want?
I like all of them.
You like them all? Good, well,
And they're all, they're all, not too much, and they all come with a commitment from us, to work with the town and help, secure or raise additional funds. And I think they're all, helping to respond to the pandemic. Like, they're all, I think, ARPA qualified, investments in people, businesses, and community.
Well, and to your point, this is 4, and if you read their report, there's many, many, many
There's
more.
quite,
so,
there's
yeah.
quite a few more, yeah.
Yeah.
I could give you more.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I would just say, I think anything we can do to increase the vitality of the downtown is a benefit not only to the people that live there, but also to the town as a whole. And so many of these ideas, I think, could do that, and certainly, merit further discussion, and I really appreciate you bringing them forth. I think we've got a huge opportunity here, given the number of residential units that are down in the downtown that didn't exist a few years ago, and I think we've changed our mindset a little bit here about how we tap into that and create that synergy with the, with the commercial part of the downtown, such that we can drive real value for the town, while providing services to the people who live there that they want, which plays into things like the uses you're talking about for the town hall. So I think a lot of deeper discussion warranted here, but these are some good ideas.
Yeah, and you remind me of something that I wanted to say, and that's that, a downtown that's vibrant, that supports its businesses, that supports its community, brings more business and brings more community and drives economic development. So, we're all in it for the people, but also there's an economic development, reason to pursue these.
Well, I think Mark Trudell said that well in his comments, that one of the things we gotta look at is, how do we know that the things that we invest in are gonna actually result in creating the value that we're all talking about here? So that's something to discuss.
Yep. These have all been studied by the state and
Sure.
recommended, so. Okay.
Okay, Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Sarah.
Thanks you for your team, too. I'm going to open it up now to anyone else who would like to offer input to all of us tonight, beyond the folks that we had formally invited to come and talk. So is there anyone who'd like to offer some thoughts? Please come up to the podium.
Hi, I'm Lisa Van der Linden, Precinct 8, FinCom. I really object to using ARPA funds to things that our town needs to schedule and budget for as part of, regular day-to-day business. That is not what this is about. I feel that there are businesses and individuals in our community who suffered financial loss because of COVID. And if we spend this ARPA money or look at it as a big grab and let's buy dump trucks with it, that is disloyal to the intent of the program. I really do like Sarah Khatib's ideas. Full disclosure, I'm on that committee as well. But I feel that to invest directly in our businesses who, really were slammed during COVID is precisely what we should be doing and would also amplify itself.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, Lisa. Okay. Anyone else?
I just made some notes while Mark Sullivan, Precinct 3, RTM, FinCom member. My comments are my own, not FinCom's. So I'm listening to tonight, $43 million in requests, $5 million you have to spend, and I look at the 5 of you and I think, the wisdom of Solomon. How are you going to split this money up? Because you have such authority now. You can make the decisions. You don't have to come to FinCom. You don't have to go to the town meeting. So I was thinking about, similar to what Lisa just said, COVID decimated communities. And ARPA originally was to put money back in to try to revitalize the community. And that's what I'm wondering about when you go down your list. So I don't have any one particular project, but it's just, my thoughts are, when I look at the list, a lot of this stuff should be vetted by FinCom, should be approved by the town meeting. It's normal capital stuff that we deal with all the time. So I'm wondering for yourselves, as you go down this list, are you gonna buy stuff, or are you gonna set guidelines to what you wanna do with ARPA? You know, do you return Walpole and help it get back to the community that it is, the ball fields, people getting together, Walpole Day, that kind of thing. So my 3 cents worth is, one, I would set guidelines, what you want to do with the funds, so that you can decide where you're going to focus. And I would, one, an immediate impact. What are you going to do that's going to really impact people's lives, improve the quality of life, and also bring the community together? And that's what I think you should do with the ARPA funds. And my last recommendation, if you haven't had a chance already, so we have the old town hall, which frankly I think we should call the courthouse. Much more romantic, and that's what it originally was. And if you ever get the chance, have Jim or Patrick walk in through the front doors, and you walk up those stairs, and there's the pillars, and you see the names of Walpoleans, and that died during the Civil War. Their names are etched there, the battles that they died in. And to me personally, I think every grade school child in Walpole should go through those doors, and it just gives you this sense of community of Walpole and what it means to live here. So that's my advice as to what you should do with the ARPA funds. Thank you.
Thank you for the input. Really appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, John. Little delay there, John. I like it.
I'll be brief. Thank you. Great projects. Maybe we should buy lottery tickets with a couple $1 million and see if we can fund everything. I would just say, since I don't know if there is this centralized review of U5, I would agree with the chairman of the Finance Committee that some of the things, replacing vehicles wouldn't be high on my list. I would just say check with the Capital Budget Committee in detail on that. I think replacing dump trucks and police, we're not short on police vehicles, et cetera. Also on the highways, I would just say that you do get Chapter 90 money to do that paving. So you might take that into consideration when you're prioritizing. I'm kind of lobbying for our 3 water projects, our top 3 there, which we think cost less than what's shown on that printout. But because these affect everybody, it affects the quality of health and life of everyone in the community. And without potable water, you don't have anything. You can't have a residence. On the sewer projects, I think we're pretty much, we've been debating these about how to handle these without the ARPA, except for the Morningside Drive dollar amount. We would like to discuss that with you, because that replacement of that would get us back to an equilibrium in terms of our operations and our budgeting and our rate setting. The other 2, I would just say that this is something that's going to take place over time and shouldn't be probably muddled in with ARPA, but they're very important. The North Walpole, the logic, I don't know if people are aware, the North Walpole, 2 large subdivisions sort of developed sewer there, and there's a space in between. So they brought it almost together, but they left a set of homes that has some failing septic systems. But essentially, there's another, sewer being so expensive, there's another way to handle this. We can change some of our septic regulations, which have become very difficult and actually cause failure and cause these mounted systems, cause the great expense. Because North Walpole has acre-plus lots, they have the space to be able to take care of the waste on that property. And in certain areas, in other states and also on Cape Cod, there are regulations that allow for very innovative and creative septic systems that are economical and do not require $1 million sewer line to be put down the street. So we're working on that and to cooperate, just so it's just the neighborhoods that really need it, that have a high incidence of failure of septics, and they want to buy in to doing that, we can study that and figure out how to solve their problems. But we want to work with the Board of Health, with the town, to improve those regulations so we don't have to necessarily go there on that big item. And also, I think that in the production road, industrial road area, that I don't think it's an economic development concern, but it's not a priority for us. I think that, and Bill gave part of the analysis, big parts of that property, not just Cedar Swamp, but you have a solar company that's going to be there 30 years, doesn't need any sewer. You have storage companies. You have the types of businesses that aren't necessarily dependent. You could say, yes, someday, 50 years from now, they might want to upgrade and we'll get a bigger tax base, and that could be true. And there could be a vehicle to get production road, continue what sewer there is there on down without incurring a great expense again. So I think we're accepting the fact that we do have a very extensive sewer extension report, which Select Person Mayfield is very familiar with. And it does have 20 phases to it. We may never get to all of them, but we're cognizant of that request may not be realistic. So I just don't want you to waste a lot of time on those two. We've sort of analyzed them and reconciled, but we are still hopeful we can get some relief on Morningside Drive. So I just wanted to make those points. Thank you.
Thanks for the input, John. Appreciate it. Yes. Yes, we.
What does the rest of the finance committee want to say? I'm Kathleen Grulich, Precinct 8, Finance Committee. I kind of want us to end thinking about more visionary things. I think that the ARPA money is an opportunity for us to do some exciting things that bring energy to the town. And I know sewer and water is really important to everybody, but I just wanted to relate. I recently went on a business trip to Hudson, New York. It was kind of run down at one point. It has revitalized itself, and it has all these cool things going on. Independent shops, independent restaurants. There's a QR code you can scan if you want to learn about their whaling history and take your own walking tour. And there's an energy there that I think we could bring back to Walpole. Historic sites are maintained, which makes me think of our town hall or courthouse, and are part of the fabric of it all. And the other thing I recently did was the Open Studios in Newton, where there was just a map and you could go around and go into to artist studios and see what they were doing. And I'm thinking there are great things happening in Walpole that I don't even know about. Having been born and raised here, lived most of my life here, I'm sure there are pockets of artistic talent, other things going on. The Porch Fest is great, but I'd love some of this money to go to that sort of excitement, building community, and just increasing the energy that we have about our community.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the input. Anyone else? Okay, then I'm gonna wrap up this part of the dialogue. I'm gonna go back to where we started, which is we have a process here. This was an important part of the process. No doubt there'll be more opportunities for input beyond this, but I appreciate all those who have come here, and we have a wide spectrum of thought here on what's important. And I appreciate all of that because we as a board need to hear that, and we've been absorbing it, and certainly it will factor into how we think about this going forward. In the end, it is our responsibility to make this decision. And I can assure you that I take that responsibility very seriously. I'm sure the rest of the board do as well. And so as we go forward now to the 21st and have Compass come in and talk to us about things like the Johnson Middle School, the old town hall, and the high school, those things now need to be factored in as well, and then further discussion. But I personally have found this very, very helpful to get all of the input from this group. I've taken a lot of notes and promise you I'll factor it into the thought process as we go forward. Let me pause and see if any other members of the board would like to comment.
I'll leave it at what I heard from the audience. I took a lot from it as well.
Ben?
Yeah, I'd just say briefly, and I think that a lot of the speakers touched on it, so I won't belabor it, but there's really a couple of factors that need to be considered for each one of these projects. There's urgency of need, there's cost, there's townwide impact, i.e. how many people are going to be affected by it or have their lives improved directly by it. And then there's, could some of these projects be funded through other means? You know, how are the funds being allocated or assessed around town. So if we can really focus on those four, and maybe there's one or two that we identify along the way, I think that we can adequately assess and really be able to kind of, excuse me, score these and find a way to the right solutions. And that's what we're gonna do. So it's just gonna take a little while.
Yeah, it will, and it should.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Thank you, everyone, for all your input. I mean, this is a great list, and it's 5 million does not go very far, and there's a lot of need.
Now, if there's one message that, you know, I think we all got from this, is that 5 million really doesn't go very far. When you listen to the types of projects that were discussed here, I mean, there are multiples on here, though, where you can't even cover the cost of the project. So we're gonna obviously do the best we can as we go through this, and there'll be some hard decisions ahead. But again, I wanna thank everyone for their input tonight. It was really, really good dialogue, so thank you. And with that, I think that concludes our agenda for this evening. Oh, I'm sorry, Josette, you did, please.
No problem. Is the 21st an open meeting, or is it a workshop?
It's an actual meeting.
I was actually gonna send an invitation out to
Yeah.
FinCom
Yeah,
and
good,
to Capital to,
Yeah,
since the
certainly
school committee's gonna be here anyways.
welcome to come and hear what Compass has to say, and, you know, we all need to hear it, because it needs to be fact. Yeah, totally. Yes, thank you, Josette. Thanks for raising that. So I think that concludes our agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned. Thank you.